देखो, now we are going to start with maternal pelvis and the diameters. ठीक है. Now first thing is pelvic brim. The boundaries of pelvic brim are, let's write boundaries of pelvic brim. I am writing because I expect you all to write with me. That will lead to greater retention because you are listening and writing at the same time. We have promontory sacroiliac joint. ठीक है. Iliopectineal line. Then upper border of ascending rami of pubic bone, pubic crest, then pubic symphysis, pubic tubercle also. ठीक है. एक सेकेंड. pubic tubercle, pubic symphysis. ठीक है. Now parts of true pelvis. There is going to be inlet, there is going to be cavity, there is going to be mid pelvis. ठीक है. And there is going to be outlet. Now the pelvic inlet. Pelvic inlet at level of pelvic brim. ठीक है. Now come here. See, first is we have true conjugate. See this image. ठीक है. अब इसमें what are you seeing? This true conjugate, right? This is true conjugate. ठीक है. True conjugate lies from, एक बार लिख लो नाल दे नाल, line drawn from sacral promontory to the upper border of the pubic symphysis. ठीक है. Sacral promontory to the upper border of pubic symphysis we have true conjugate, which is 11 centimeter. Next is obstetric conjugate, line drawn from symphysis pubis. ठीक है. This is symphysis pubis. It's line drawn from the sacral promontory. Sacral promontory to the middle border of the pubic symphysis. ठीक है. Next is line drawn from sacral promontory to the lower border of the pubic symphysis, that is diagonal conjugate. ठीक है. That is diagonal conjugate. This is diagonal conjugate. Okay. Which is 12 centimeter and it is 10.5 centimeter. ठीक है. So this was that. Now critical obstetric conjugate is, that is the minimum diameter below which the vaginal delivery is not possible. So the minimum diameter below which vaginal delivery is not possible is critical obstetric conjugate, and that is 10 centimeter. ठीक है. Obstetric conjugate, it is 10 centimeter. Next is transverse diameter. Transverse diameter is distance between two farthest point on the iliopectineal line. It is not seen here. And oblique diameter, the distance between the sacroiliac joint on one side to the iliopectineal eminence on the other. So this is the transverse, like this is the transverse distance between two farthest point on the iliopectineal line, and it is 13 सेंटीमीटर. 30 से 13, 30 से 13, ठीक है, 30 से 13 और ट्रांसवर्स. You have to remember like this. An oblique means distance between sacroiliac joint on one side to the iliopectineal eminence on the other side. So this is iliopectineal eminence, ठीक है, and this is the sacroiliac joint, ठीक है, and it is 12 सेंटीमीटर, ठीक है. नाउ ठीक है, अब नाउ वी हैव डन pelvic inlet, pelvic brim, ठीक है. नाउ clinical pelvimetry is measures the diagonal conjugate only. Clinically we can measure diagonal conjugate only. Okay, ठीक है. If sacral promontory is not palpable, diagonal conjugate is greater than 12 centimeter. If the sacral promontory is not palpable, that means the diagonal conjugate is more than 12 centimeter. The obstetric conjugate is diagonal conjugate, like it's almost equal to the diagonal conjugate. And the contracted pelvis, the obstetric conjugate is less than 10 centimeter and diagonal conjugate is less than 11.5 centimeter, ठीक है. In contracted pelvis, the diagonal conjugate is less than 11.5 centimeter. Obstetric conjugate is less than 10 centimeter, ठीक है. Female pelvis, the transverse diameter is more than AP diameter in female pelvis, and this is known as transverse oval or gynecoid pelvis. Okay guys, now we are going to come on to the cavity. Cavity lies at the level of ischial spine. Between pelvic inlet and anatomical outlet. Truncated cylinder. Anterior wall shallow. Formed by pubic bone. And the posterior wall is formed deep and concave. It is formed by sacrum. See guys, the shape is of that of truncated cylinder. Anterior wall is very shallow and it is formed by the pubic bone. The posterior wall is deep and concave. It is formed by the sacrum. ठीक है. Now we are going to study about the cavity a little more. So the cavity has AP diameter, that is of 12 centimeter. ठीक है. The cavity, right, of pelvic of the pelvis, right. The anterior there is anterior boundary which is made of lower border of the pubic symphysis, ठीक है. and posterior boundary formed at junction of S2 S3 vertebrae. Lateral extent is till the obturator foramen. The AP diameter is 12 cm, which is the distance between anterior posterior borders. Transverse diameter is 12 cm. ठीक है. Significance is that there is no obstetric significance of these diameters. But there is just one thing you need to remember, that by spinous diameter is the smallest pelvic diameter. ठीक है, which is most important obstetrically. Now next is mid pelvis. Plane of greatest pelvic dimensions is the roof, and floor is plane of least pelvic dimensions. See, the roof and floor, plane of least pelvic dimensions, and roof is plane of greatest pelvic dimensions. ठीक है. Now mid pelvis is said to be contracted. So it is contracted if the interischial diameter less than 8 cm. ठीक है. You are able to touch both ischial spines simultaneously with fingers of same hand. ठीक है. Now last thing is pelvic outlet. Pelvic outlet lies at level of ischial tuberosity. Anatomical outlet. ठीक है. The boundaries, we have anterior, which is lower border of pubic symphysis, posterior the tip of coccyx. ठीक है. Lateral there is ischial tuberosity, and the AP diameter is 13 cm. ठीक है. Transverse diameter, distance between the ischial tuberosities, is 11 cm. If less than 8 cm, that is said to be contracted pelvis. ठीक है. 4 knuckles cannot be passed very easily. Obstetric outlet, pelvic area bounded superiorly plane of the least pelvic and inferiorly plane of pelvic outlet. ठीक है. Now the next is that we have the angles. There are some angles. There is, for example, this is the bone. This is pubic symphysis, right? This is hip bone. Okay, like this. Okay, this is the cavity where femur will articulate, kind of. This is like your sacrum bone, right? So this angle is known as the subpubic angle. Okay, in males it is acute, and in females it is obtuse, right? The angle between descending rami of pubic bones. ठीक है. Now there is some angle of inclination also. This is the pubic symphysis. This is sacrum. ठीक है. Now what is this angle? This angle is angle of inclination, guys. This angle of inclination is equal to 55 degree, and it is angle which the pelvic inlet makes with the horizontal. Now next is station. So the station is said to be 0 if it is at ischial spine. The head of fetus is engaged head. ठीक है. The station, if you want to use forceps vacuum, it is more than +2. So internal rotation also occur at this level. ठीक है. Deep transverse arrest also occur at this point. Levator and eye muscle hang from ischial spine. Levator and eye muscle hang like a hammock. ठीक है. Now landmark for pudendal nerve block is sacrospinous ligament is pierced for the access to nerve and indications in the instrumental delivery. Right. Now the station below 0 means the belows 1 are the plus and above are the minus. ठीक है. Suppose this is your cavity, right? This is your cavity. So if it is 0 station, this is plus 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 plus. ठीक है. This is minus 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 minus. ठीक है. So this was all about the maternal pelvis. Thank you so much, guys.